All right, and we are live. Welcome everybody to a live episode of Mike's Money Picks. We have got a very special episode for you today. Each of the last 3 seasons, we've done content covering PGA Best Ball. This one's a little different. This one's a little new. This is going to be the best one yet, though. We are going to be doing some live drafts, and we're going to be talking strategy, talking tips on how to play the Scramble contest on Underdog. And I am joined by a very special guest. And you guys know when I bring guests on here, I don't just bring people on here to just do nothing. I bring people on here that know ball and are going to provide us some good content. So I am joined by Chris, aka Fantasy Football Garage. If you draft with him on Underdog, aka the Candyman. Chris is a guy that we've talked about NFL best ball time and time again. I've gone on his channel and had a blast drafting with him. We've talked about PGA a lot as well. And Chris is actually a pretty accomplished PGA best ball player. He had a team that reached the finals of the Scramble last season. So like I said, not only is Chris a good dude, but we have got a genuine ball knower here. So welcome to the channel, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. Great to be on, and I'm feeling really excited for the start of the PGA season, man. How are you feeling about it?
I'm really looking forward to it. Like, it's a little weird because, we don't have the Century this year, but it wasn't my favorite event anyway. So to kind of kick everything off with the Sony where, one and done is going to start, best ball is going to start, DFS is back. It's going to be fun when it comes back. And I think that golf is the type of sport where the very short off season kind of works. Like, we pretty much just had a month off from regular PGA Tour events, but I'm ready for it to be back already.
Yeah, no doubt. I didn't ask you beforehand, but have you been tuning into any of the TGL matches?
So kind of off and on. It's one of those things where, like, if nothing else is on, I'll turn it on. But really, last season when I tuned in, it was like when they had the weeknight matches. And the last two they've done have been like Sunday and Friday, where
Bad
they're going
timing.
up against football. Like don't go up against football. Go up against like a meaningless college basketball game. So
Exactly. I 100% agree. That's my only thing that I've not liked about it so far. I missed the first match. It's bad timing. I did catch some of the match on Friday. And I bring it up because there is a rising star that was featured in the last TGL match when the Boston Commons got their first win. That's Rory's team, of course. They notoriously lost every match last season, got
they
their
were
first
terrible.
win in this one. And it was on the back of an up-and-comer in his putting game. And so this is a guy that's relevant for the Scramble, relevant for season-long PGA Best Ball, and I've been clicking him a little bit more. And it's kind of funny. You see someone in an event do well. There's that recency bias. You see his personality come out a little bit. You start to research more into who he is, and I'm pretty hyped on this guy right now. And if they don't already know, we'll reveal as we get to talking to some of the strategy and some of our favorite players as we're talking about this Scramble draft.
I was going to say, I don't think I know exactly who it is. We'll kind of leave that as a little bit of a tease. I'm sure
Perfect.
it'll come up. But yeah, if you guys are watching us live, we are going to draft for the Scramble on Underdog. These contests tend to be kind of slow to fill, though. So literally what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to go ahead and join the lobby. We're going to go ahead and get in. And if you guys are watching and you want to draft against our team, then knock yourself out. Go ahead and go for it. But if you just want to watch, we're going to kind of talk. It could not detect my location. Why could it not detect my location? If you don't want to draft against us, you can go ahead and just kind of get listen to what we're talking about with strategy. Or if you're watching this on the replay, we're going to be talking strategy. So yeah.
I usually hit the refresh button on the browser. It can sometimes help with that.
That's what I'm going to try here. I don't know what's going on.
I've had this issue a bunch. Yeah. It's weird. Sometimes it just kind of, I've noticed this on Underdog. Let's
just close it out.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that, like, literally when I first logged in, it asked me if I could share my location, and I clicked yes. Okay. So let's see. All right, I'm going to try to reboot here.
But yeah, man, it was super fun. We drafted some best ball teams for the NFL season during the summer. We just wrapped up we're wrapping up week 18 right now. We just wrapped up the NFL best ball season. Week 17 is when all that went down. Crazy stuff. I know you were sweating a finals team. I was sweating a couple finals teams. No big wins for me in NFL this year, but it was fun. And I'm just kind of sweating this Steelers-Ravens game that's live. It's in the third quarter, I believe, because the Texans will be hosted by whoever wins this game. And so I'm a Houston
that's
guy.
your team.
Yeah, I'm Houston-based, and I'm a Texans fan. So I'm worried that it's going to be the Ravens. That's a much tougher matchup, in my opinion, for the Texans. They lost to the Ravens in week 1 pretty decisively, and then they did play the Steelers already and beat the Steelers. I also think it's just a better matchup for the Texans. So I'm a little bit worried it's going to be the Ravens, but we'll see how that one kind of unfolds.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are better.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of a raw deal for the Texans if it was going to be Baltimore as opposed to Pittsburgh. Yeah, I definitely think you want to play Pittsburgh. All right, so I got it figured out. So
Perfect.
The good news and bad news. Good news is we did figure out our location issues and we got into a lobby. Bad news is that there's 5 people that we need to join. We're the only ones in this lobby so far. So if you want to draft against us, go join the Scramble on Underdog. It is the big $10. But the good news is this will give us plenty of time to talk about strategy. So one thing I've noticed, and you've had success in this contest, so you know
Yes,
this
sir.
as well, is this contest is more about piecing together a puzzle than just drafting the best golfers. So can you kind of elaborate on what your general strategy is here when you do these drafts?
Would love to, yeah. So in the Scramble, there's 2 main PGA season-long best ball tournaments on Underdog, 2 different formats. The Scramble is all of the signature events. There's 8 of them. 3 of those are going to be cut events, the invitationals. There's going to be 5 that are non-cuts. And the players who are kind of in those events already, who've already qualified, are known. The curveball is there's the next 10. And so before all of the signature events, we've already got the first 2 signature events figured out. But for the remaining, there's going to be players who gain access to those events during the season. So there are players right now who aren't projected to be in those events who will enter them. That will not only give them access to more events in this, but will also potentially pull them from other events that they might have been going into otherwise. Maybe if a player is going to get into, we could just say one of the earlier ones like the API, they might skip the Cognizant or something like that. Or maybe they have to play the Cognizant to get into the API. So maybe we have a player who isn't yet qualified and they're going to decide to go play the Cog to try to qualify for the API, or, just an example. But the takeaway there is that these schedules, they're not only so hard to predict right now, but they're going to continue to change throughout the season. Players are going to qualify for majors, signature events. Players are going to withdraw from events. Injuries, of course, can happen like in any sport. And so that's one of the things about this format that is just so nuanced, and it really takes a lot of thinking through as you're building your roster to make sure you're stacking players across all these events, that you're not just left with only the signature event players, just the best golfers. You need grinders. You need guys who are in there playing, like I said, the Cognizant, the Charles Schwab, the Canadian Open, the John Deere, of course, which is
John Deere's the big one.
Yeah. And so that's really part of the fun about this. It's not just drafting the best golfers, it's drafting a schedule. And for the whole season, we're going from the Sony through the Open at Royal Birkdale. And there are some events that aren't going to be counted. Some of those alternate events don't count for this as well. The other form on Underdog is the Albatross, which hasn't opened yet, but will be opening at once the season has started. So in less than 2 weeks, when the Sony tees off, the Albatross.
I was going to say probably like early February, late January start for that.
Yeah, probably the end of January or maybe early February is exactly when it usually goes, and sometimes even a little bit later than that. But it gives us an opportunity to have a whole nother drafting season on Underdog for PGA season-long best ball that is just the majors. And so that's going to be the Masters, of course, PGA, US Open, and the Open. And that's a whole nother tournament where in that one, you really are just drafting the best golfers, the guys who are already in the majors, and maybe a few who are qualified for 2 or 3 majors and could play into access to like the Open.
Yeah, like that's one thing that, this is the 3rd year where Underdog's done PGA Best Ball, is like the first year, I feel like there were a lot of people that were just obsessed with like drafting the best team possible. Like, oh, look, I got Rory, I got Cantlay, I got all these guys. And then like not realizing like, oh, like I kind of need guys to play in the John Deere. I need guys to play in the Byron Nelson. Like if you don't fill up all of the tournaments, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. And so last year, I had a massively high advance rate because I went into the contest knowing this. And my whole concept was I'm just going to draft the guys that are going to play in Mexico, and I'm going to draft the guys that are going to play in the American Express because those were in the first round of the tournament, and they were kind of, very much I don't want to use the word like a jabroni event. I feel like that's like a little bit too degrading.
Normie events.
Yeah, a normie event, right? It wasn't a signature event. It was an event that not a whole lot of the top pros played at. And so, if I was just able to fill out those events, then I could definitely ensure that I get out of round one, I get into round two, and so on and so forth.
Right. That's a good strategy.
And so, like, I advanced a ton of teams in round one or into round two, a ton of teams into round three. And then when I got to round three, I wasn't able to keep the steam going and get to round four. And the event that kind of did me in last year was the Canadian Open. I didn't have enough guys at the Canadian Open.
That is there are in my mind, there's really there's four pivotal tournaments that we can get into and talk about. And then there's one stretch of tournaments that is also pretty important to think about in terms of advancing between the legs, the sections, the four sections of this tournament. So I'd love to get into that. But yeah, hearing your story about last year and kind of steaming out in the third leg, I think that's very, very common too. And I think it speaks to how hard this tournament is to draft and to think ahead. But also think about this. Another good reason is there's 6 people in each drafting pod, right? And so let's just assume that half of the people, 3 of them are very sharp, including yourself. And there's another 3 drafters who are just kind of drafting the best golfers, just kind of drafting names they know, and they're not really filling out their schedule as intentionally as you might want to have a lot of success in this tournament. So half the room is sharp, half the room is maybe average, we'll say. When you get into the round 2, it's a regrouping of just the 1 out of 6 who advanced from the first pod. At least that's the structure this year, right? And it's been similar in the past years. Now it's the cream of the crop. It's everyone sharp in round 2. So then to advance 1 out of 6 again to that third leg is difficult. In the third leg, you're really talking about people who thought ahead, really scheduled out their drafts. The players are selecting, already hitting on some up and comers or some breakout guys like what would be Ben Griffin last year.
Yes, that was the key.
or maybe they had Scotty Scheffler and you just have the 101 and that's the luck you needed, right? But in the third round is I think the hardest potentially to advance, and there should be a lot of effort put into having success in that round as well. I think I kind of weight the importance of the rounds. First off, the last round is the most important because that's where the field is 260.
Yes, that's where all the money is.
In the final round, it's where all the money is. And look at that, we filled it.
Yeah.
But to keep it short, you should be stacking up for the fourth round. That's things like the John Deere, the Travelers, and the Scottish. Those are the higher scoring birdie events there. Then the importance to me is in the first round and making sure you get out of it and making sure you have players who are in the cognizant, which is hard to plan for.
Yeah.
Then it's the third round and you're going back, and a lot of those are signature events. And
the
then
third round is almost entirely signature events this year. It's kind of crazy how that schedule worked out.
It is tough. Yeah. 3 signature events in a major. And then the CJ Cup's the really only low scoring event in terms of a lot of birdies and a lower score finish. And then I think the least important is kind of that second leg that I think naturally gets filled up pretty easily.
I agree.
The hard parts to fill is, like you said, the Canadian, making sure you have guys in the cognizant, the John Deere, and even sometimes the Scottish, not always, but the CJ Cup's another one.
The hardest. So first off, Scotty Scheffler goes 1-1. The draft has started, y'all. Who are we going to be looking at for number 4 right here? I would love if either Griffin or Burns fell to us, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
I like those calls. I love that you got your own ranks in here as well.
So I loaded in Pat Mayo's rankings. Shout out to the Pat Mayo experience.
There we go.
His rankings did really well last year. And what I've noticed is that there's a lot of people that do just draft based off of his rankings. Let's be good with Ben Griffin here.
We got to go Ben Griffin. Yeah, that's a steal.
It really is. So it kind of helps me not only like give a pretty good ranking system, but it also allows you to kind of predict where some other people are going to go. Wow, I really like McIntyre there at 5. I actually really do like Bobby Mack.
Really?
Well, so McIntyre played both the Sony and the American Express last year. Gotcha. And he is a great Scottish Open player, great Canadian Open player. So I think he fills up a few of the events that you're going to need.
The only thing I do like that a lot about McIntyre. We're on the clock. I love Sepp.
Yeah.
Love Sepp. I actually like JJ Spawn as well, but I like Sepp more.
Those first 2 rounds really fell in our lap there with Griffin and Straka. I think that's a great start. I really do.
I love that start. You're right. I mean, I do need to take some more Robert McIntyre. He's starting to get steamed up with the way that ranks have come out and people have been pushing him up, but he has a very strong for the first leg. He's in the Sony, the American Express, and potentially should play the Phoenix again. Then he's in 2 of the signature events. In the 4th leg, he's in the Travelers, which is a signature event, and he's in the Scottish, which is one of the lower scoring events with more birdies. And so he'll do well there. I think what's keeping me off getting so much McIntyre, I need to get more. I mean, he's always making the cut. And he's making a ton of top 10s. So he's perfect for this scoring format. I think there's potentially some guys who just still play a little bit more events than he does, play more rounds. But I agree with you. You know, we want a young guy who's an up and comer and can have a career year, and he fits that bill easily.
So agree with everything you were saying. We ended up on the clock there. And I took Nick Taylor.
I'm cool with it. I got a bunch of Nick Taylor.
So what I like about Nick Taylor is he's the defending champ at the Sony. So he's going to play there. And he's Canadian, so he's going to play the Canadian Open. So like a few of these swing events that we need, he's going to be there.
No doubt.
And then
Nick Taylor's nice. And I think he can have years where he's competing in top 10s in some of these events. He also makes a lot of cuts.
So what do you think here? This is a tricky spot.
I like Connors. He's another guy who makes a ton of cuts. I like McNeely. He plays a lot of events, and I think he's a strong player. So either one of those works great for me.
Yeah, got Connors.
Love it.
Just in the nick of time. So we really kind of filled up our Canadian Open there with Taylor and Connors. Plus, Connors usually plays the Sony, which is good.
Yes, I think he will too. I've got him slated there. As I'm looking at the guys we've drafted, we will need to make up some ground for the Cognizant, which is always the story, and also for the John Deere and the CJ Cup, which is always the story. But we're doing good for the Canadian, and we're doing very solid for our majors and our signature events.
Like all 4 of those guys, I believe, are signature event players, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's a good start. Do you think so? I think both Brennan, Gerard, and Bridgman, I think all 3 of those guys are going to play the Cognizant. If I'm not mistaken,
I think that there's a chance that Gerard and Bridgman will. They changed their status, right? So they were not signature event golfers last year. They are this year. So it's really hard to know if they'll go back and play the Cognizant. They both did play it last year. I'm loving the Michael Brennan pick, and maybe there's a little bit of hype there, but I think he's going to be a grinder that's going to find a lot of success and be playing in mostly, these normie events like the Cog and things. And of course, it's his first year on the tour fully. And so, but I think, this is a great place to take a swing on a guy like Brennan.
Looking at how we've constructed ourselves so far, I think we've got a good roster to take a guy like Brennan because we don't need another signature event guy like right this second.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, and he's also Brennan's qualified. I think he's qualified for the Masters.
The Masters and the RBC Heritage.
And the RBC Heritage, you're right. He should play the Cog. He should play some of the Texas swing and maybe get into some of the Florida events too. I think he'll probably play the John Deere. And I feel like he's the kind of guy that would be strong in that field. So I love Bridgman here. I think Bridgman's a good pick.
I like Bridgman. Kirk, he is a wild card because he's so old. I feel like I have this perception in my mind that he plays like all of the events, but yet it's
He
just
started
because
to
he
slow down a
switches.
bit on the events. He
Yeah.
is Kirk is good. He can still win an event almost every year he plays on the tour.
Mhm.
So I like that about him. He's an experienced guy. I think he just doesn't play enough events for me to get so excited about him in his new ADP where he's been rising a ton.
Yes,
When
the
when
Mayo
missing,
rankings love him, and that's
yeah,
what's
the
rising
Mayo
him up, I
rankings love
think.
him. I've been tracking the ADP since the opening day on November 26th, and if I scroll down to Kirk, he has risen a ton. I'll have to find his name on here, but give me once. Kirk was originally going at pick 64. He was pick 67 2 weeks ago, and now he's
That's
pick
crazy.
35.
Oh man, he
So
took oxygen
The
from us.
Mayo ranks steamed him up, and so I've got a bunch of Kirk teams where he's like my last pick.
So what do you think about Wyndham versus Kirk here? Do you think Wyndham's a decent pick?
Love Wyndham Clark. I mean,
Okay.
the guy. I'm hoping for a little bit of a bounce back, but we've
Yes.
seen it. He's talented. He's a major winner, and we know he can hang with the best of them. He's not in the signature events. He's gonna be grinding to get into the signature
Mhm.
events, and I think he's gonna play more events. And I think the level of competition. Sometimes he plays down to it, like he did last season,
Mhm.
but I think he can get back in there. He at least makes a lot of cuts. If he can start to play some more events, I think he'll find himself getting some nice top tens.
I also really like Schneider's pick of Jake Knapp right there. Jake Knapp's a guy I've been
Love it.
drafting a lot of.
Oh yeah. Jake Knapp, of course, killed it at Mexico um, in the past, and is a pretty strong player, and I think good for this format as well.
So I'm going to go slightly off the beaten path here. I want to take Billy Horschel.
Love it.
So Billy Horschel, for those not aware, injured last season, so he does not have signature event status. So he's going to be trying to earn that back. But most importantly, he is a Florida guy. And why does that matter? Because I believe he's going to play in the Cognizant Classic.
I think so
And
too. He played it last year, or if I'm not mistaken, I think he played it last year. If not, he's played it in the past recently. And so I think he goes back and plays it.
yeah, and that was kind of the event that I'm looking at that we need the most help at, is making sure we fill out that Cognizant Classic so that we can make sure we get out of stage one.
Definitely. Based on my tracking, we need 2 more for the CJ Cup. We need 3 more for the John Deere.
Okay.
And 2 more for the Canadian, but we're pretty much good across the board elsewhere. And I think just 1 more signature event guy, and then potentially we can fill the rest with some late kind of picks, some scroll down guys.
Does anybody stand out to you near the top of the board?
I do. So hit by ADP.
Yeah.
I like Sammy. I think he's going to do well in some of these non-signature events, and he does get into Sammy gets into Pebble and the Genesis and the
Because he's in
Heritage,
that
if I'm not
next 10.
mistaken, because he also had a win. And then
Let's go ahead and take Sammy.
I like McCarty decently. I like Davis Thompson decently.
I've taken some McCarty as well. I think he's going to be one of these grinder type of guys that plays every week, and he's already qualified for the Masters too.
Yes. For Davis Thompson, I've gone back and forth, but I still think he's valued in this format, and he was on the winning roster last year.
Yes.
Not that matters completely, but he's even in not even a good a season as we expected for him, he still got up there. Ryan Fox, I think, is a great pick because he's going to be in the Canadian. He's the defending champ there.
Yep.
And so he also finishes out our signature events. And then from there on out, we would just need 1 more Canadian and 2 more guys in the John Deere.
So this is where the point of the draft where I'm not really even like looking at ADP. I'm just looking for guys that I know are going to play certain events that I need, right? Like I'm pretty sure Kevin Yu, I know he was near the top of the leaderboard in Canada last year. I'm pretty sure he's going to play John Deere as well.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and put him there.
He did play Canadian and the Deere last year. He's also in the Scottish, which is nice. I've drafted a ton of Kevin Yu. The only reason I've started to pull back a little bit on not drafting him every time is because of, I think for Kevin Yu, he's kind of a player that plays a ton of events, but misses a lot of cuts and is not always in the top 10. Not that matters the most. They just kind of reoriented the scoring this year to give more points to higher finishes. And I think Yu can still, like, maybe he can play a little bit better, but he plays a ton of rounds of golf, Just can he make some more cuts would be nice.
I think I'm good going him right here, though.
Yeah.
Because we don't need another signature event guy. We got that covered. I think he's going to play some of these events that we need, and we can go ahead and fire it up.
Let's do it.
Now
we need someone who is in on the deer.
I starred Jason Day because I know he played there last year, but I'm really open to a lot of different names here. Is there anybody like just a sleeper that you like or anything like that?
Sure. Let me think. So can you sort it by ADP? And
Yes.
So some of the guys I like Vince Whaley late.
Okay.
I've been drafting a good amount of him. Jaeger, I think late is an interesting name. He should be in the deer. Another guy I like is, I think Smalley's decent to go. Smalley misses a lot of cuts, which is kind of his problem, but does score a lot of birdies as well.
Let's you know what? Let's do Smalley.
Yeah,
I think Smalley's like he's a guy that plays a lot of events, which is what we need. Which I'm hoping like if anybody's watching, like hey, like that's the recurring theme here, right? Is like we need guys that play a lot of events.
Smalley will play a lot. Another name I'll just throw one out there. Griot. I think Griot is a good last round pick who can hit a lot of these events and is going to be grinding him out. And he's pretty competitive guy. I mean, I want to say he was second at the deer last year, or maybe I'm thinking about a different past year, but
he was definitely, didn't he lose in the playoff to Brian Campbell?
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah, second at the John Deere.
Good old Brian Campbell. Not a guy that I'm going to be drafting, by the way.
But yeah, I've done it more than once, but not that many times.
Like just you talk about the most random 2-time PGA Tour winner in recent memory, Brian Campbell. All right, so that went like fast and furious because we were in the middle of the round. So
it's crazy because of these 20-second clocks. Last year it was 30 seconds. It is so hard to do 20-second clocks fast and fill out your schedule and look at your data and talk to someone on stream. Man, I've done it a few times. It's insane.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to show the board up here. I wish it would be a bigger screen. Hold on. Never mind. Maybe did it work? No, it didn't work. Okay, hold on. I'm going to show the board here. And yeah, there it is. As big of the board as I can get. And let's kind of get caught up on the chat, talk through what we got going on here, right? Because I see we got my boy Darren here. Yeah, shots fired at Byron Nelson. Yeah, but it's also an event that we need. So I'm also prioritizing it, right? Canadian, Scottish are critical. Absolutely. Jake Knapp, segment 4, God. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Love Jake Knapp. Cameron Young at 4.
If he can play into like the Travelers. Let me look at his status right now. Is Knapp?
Hold on, I actually have the list on.
Knapp's
PGA
not
Tour.
in the majors right now, but except for the PGA. But if he can like play into the U.S. Open or even the Open, I don't think he's really a guy for the Open. But if he can play into the U.S. Open and the Travelers, that'd be pretty sweet.
He's gonna play all the events that you need to. Like he has played good back-to-back years at Cognizant. He is Mexico's not on the schedule anymore, but if I'm not mistaken, he's pretty good at Houston too.
Yeah.
So don't mind that at all. Cameron Young at 4. I would not have complained if we'd gotten Cameron Young at 4, but when Ben Griffin falls to you, you got to do it. Like
I have a ton of Cameron Young. He's one of my most drafted players.
In terms of like the top of the board guys, Burns, Griffin, and Young are the guys that I'm ending up with the most, and I'm not complaining about that at all. Marco Penge might play himself in his signature events. I don't mind that idea. I think, the 2 events that he played last year, he looked like he was legitimately good. And some of these Euros come over, and if they are legitimately good, they can be good quick.
When I hear about Marco, I always think about the ball speed. He's got a really high ball speed. Like he's a big time driver, and I think he's 29th in the world right now. Which, if I'm not mistaken, I think the top 30 in the world will qualify for the signature event. So if he can just hold on steady, but with him, the big risk is, and I've fallen into this trap before. These guys who are traditionally more of a DP World Tour player, they don't hit the John Deere. They don't commit to the Cognizant. Like they're going to be around the world. So this is really not the format for them, but it could be. I've drafted some of Marco. I just don't know that you have to have him on your roster.
So the events that the Euros typically play, like just thinking like in the memory bank, right? Like the Cognizant, which used to be the Honda, used to be like a Euro Fest because it used to be the first event that they would come over and they would stay and play the Florida Swing, right?
Sure.
But now it's at a different part of the schedule. It's
Yeah.
sandwiched between all the signature events. So are they really going to travel just to play the Cog? Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense with where that is. But Euros traditionally will play the Canadian Open, and Euros will traditionally play the Scottish Open.
Of
So
course.
you're definitely going to see Penge there. And you know, if his world ranking stays, then he's going to get into the majors. He's going to get into the Players. He's going to get into all the other stuff. So don't mind that.
Let me tell you another trap that I've fallen into. In the past, I've drafted tournament specialist or something. So you could say, okay, well, maybe Penge is going to be an event specialist at the Scottish and the Canadian, and I'll plan to have him go there.
Right.
Well, what if he gets cut? What if he, tied for 60th? So the risk of taking a player who's going to play less events and hoping there's some kind of specialist for certain events, there's so much variability. You might as well just take someone who's not as good at those events, but is also going to play 10 other events during the year,
right,
and is maybe in 8 more events than he would be, just so you have more shots on goal.
Because that's one thing I realized last year is like, you look at an event like Torrey Pines, right? Like with it not being like the biggest scoring event, you didn't necessarily need to get 6 through the cut there. Whereas like the American Express, when everybody's hitting birdies,
you better be there.
You want 6 through the cut at the American Express, big time.
You might want to have 8 just so you have some scores to choose from.
And the good news is the American Express actually has like some of its highest notoriety commitments like posted on their website. So you know some of the big names that are going to be there. One of them is the guy we drafted, Billy Horschel, which is nice.
Horschel, Wyndham Clark, another one who's committed. Ben Griffin committed.
Yeah, so hopefully we got the American Express. And Wyndham Clark, he always plays there. So hopefully we got that one covered for sure. Retail Ripper says, what's up, fellas? What's up, Retail Ripper? Glad to have you here. We got Darren saying Mitchell plays the Birdie Fest. Griot is a grinder. Let Sammy fall. I'm 60% Wacky Val Mackey. Absolutely. He's one of my favorite like late round targets. Sammy, Ryan Fox, Adam Scott, I've taken a lot of as well. So Adam Scott like just plays this weird schedule. Like you never know where he's going to show up, but he shows up and he's like a top 30 machine. Like he never wins anymore, but he's always lurking. So don't mind that.
I've always had a thing for Adam Scott. I love watching him play golf.
I was rooting for him at the US Open. I really was. If my Robert McIntyre 80-1 ticket wasn't going to get home, I wanted it to be for Adam Scott. And I was so tempting close to getting the Robert McIntyre ticket. I just needed Spawn to 3-putt instead of drain the 80-footer. And then, Darren says Knapp did lose his girlfriend. That's absolutely a possibility. That's I'm hoping that it doesn't like negatively impact him because like that's obviously like such a tragic loss. She seemed to be like his biggest fan. So hopefully he'll be able to bounce back off of that. Yeah. And then Worry Live targets South Africans and Euros. They absolutely do. They tried to make a run into our Koreans. They tried to make a run at Sungjae and Siwoo. And there was a few days where like they weren't being drafted at all in this because people thought they were on Live. And that would a late Live defection will be like the worst thing ever for this format.
It's gonna happen to potentially someone. If it happens to Max Gracerman, I'm gonna lose like 20% of my teams.
I don't think he would, but you never know these days. Live's kind of in dire straits with Brooks not being under contract and Bryson negotiating his contract.
I would agree.
And then Retail Ripper, y'all got Minwoo Lee in the Amex, right? He's confirmed. Yes, he will be there. Minwoo Lee's another guy kind of in the Adam Scott category where he just plays a really weird schedule. So I kind of don't mind getting Minwoo Lee because he just pops up at these random events. Like I remember, like he won the Houston. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
It was last year.
It was where it's like, they didn't think Minwoo was going to play the Houston, but here he is, and here he is winning it. So how you think of the squad that we got here first, Chris?
I like this squad. I think we hit all of the critical areas. Maybe a little bit thin at the Deer is a concern. We're really good on the Scottish, so that helps cover. I think another spot we potentially could be thin at would be let me look at this. I know. Honestly, that's it. It's real perfect. Otherwise,
The
we do have
Byron
the
Nelson,
guys.
I might be a little worried
On which one?
on the Byron Nelson, the CJ Cup Byron Nelson.
Just
trying to think of who played there
we have
last year.
potentially 8 guys there because I do think Wyndham Clark will potentially play it. He's played it in the past, and he's going to be trying to get into more signature events down the line because he's not in them. And then I also think that Brennan could potentially play it because he might just try to play everything under the sun.
That's the thing about Brennan is like we don't have a year of a PGA Tour schedule to know where he's going to play, but we do know that he's going to play a lot of golf because look what he did in the fall. He played pretty much every single week in the fall. So, yeah, we'll take it. All right, so you ready to go for round 2 here?
Yeah, let's jump in, and then we can talk more about our draft and our players we like in these things. I'll let you in on my sleeper that I hinted on earlier.
Okay.
As this one tries to fill.
Now, another thing that I got a question on in the Discord about this part. They said, if it is about drafting events played and not pure golfing skill, is
Correct.
Scotty Scheffler still the 1-1? And I had an immediate answer.
It's 100% yes.
Yes, 100%.
No doubt.
So here's the thing.
One of the greatest golfers of all time, and we're witnessing greatness in front of our eyes. You're going to be upset if you don't have him at the 101.
And then not only that, but like he plays in the Byron Nelson. He plays in the Charles Schwab Challenge. He plays at Houston. He might even play at American Express. Like he's going to play these like
he almost
some of the
won
events.
Houston last year.
Yeah, like he won Byron Nelson.
Yeah.
So like he's going to play some of these events that you need guys at, and he's only the best golfer on the planet who never misses a cut, never finishes outside the top 20. So it just, to me, it's one of those where like it's not, is Scotty the 1-1? It's no, let me get the 1-1, please. Like,
please.
Okay, the more Scotty I get, the better I feel.
I'll give you 2 data points on why taking Scotty Scheffler first overall. The first one is Scotty Scheffler was on in the 2025 scramble. The first, second, and third place team all had Scotty Scheffler. You had to have him to win last year. Okay.
Well, yeah, because he you just think about the last segment.
He wins the Open.
Yeah, he won the Open. Like,
which is not the highest. It's not the lowest scoring event. It's not the most fantasy points. And Scotty didn't score the most fantasy points in the last segment. Jake Knapp scored more. Harry Hall scored 140 more points. Harry Hall was a have-to-have-it guy. He's on the first, second, and third place team as well.
Yes. I feel like last year, Harry Hall and Ben Griffin were like the 2 guys that were just incredible values.
Yeah.
Like definitely. Just insane.
The other point I was going to say about Scotty Scheffler is
go for it.
He was on all the winning teams last year. They updated the scoring for this year's scramble on Underdog. They included more points for finishing place. So first place finish gets you 20 points, and then it tapers down from there. That gives more points to the star players, the guys who actually win these events and win multiple events. So that makes Scotty even more valuable. And then the third thing I'll say is, so points are going to be based on top 10s and top 20s. He was the 100th percentile player in terms of top 10s. He was the number 1 player in top 10s last year. He was 99th percentile in cuts made. He's pretty much tied with anyone else for the most cuts made. Yeah. He was 99th percentile in birdies per round. And the only one person that was higher was Garrick Higo, and Garrick Higo played way less events. The one drawback for Scotty is he's kind of middle of the road for the number of events played. He's kind of an average amount of events played golfer because he'll take some time off. He might not play the Valspar, the Valero. He might not play, obviously, the Canadian or the John Deere, the Sony even. But he makes up for it with, the wins. And so, definitely 101 Scotty. No one's even close.
Yeah. And to me, it's almost like you hope that variance goes in your favor and you get the 101 more than 1 out of 6. Like,
yes.
Like literally, I believe I'm exactly at a 1/6 rate right now, and I kind of hope that I get a little more.
I was for a long time. I think I'm just above it now. I've done 5 of the big scrambles, and I don't know how many of those I'm going to do, but I've done 5 of them, and I think 2 of them or maybe 3 of them are still, because I do a lot of slow drafts for these, are still ongoing. But I've got Scotty in 3 out of the 5.
That's pretty solid, right?
I might just not do anymore and say, these are my shots, because they're kind of bigger ones, bigger ticket items. But no,
So we're waiting on 2 more people. So if you're watching live, you want to draft with us, go ahead and join. It's the Scramble. It's the $10 contest. Let's get caught up on the chat here. So Darren says Spieth might be a sneaky grinder. I like that call. He's not currently qualified for signature events, so he is going to have to play some extras. And like his boy Scotty, he's going to play the Charles Schwab. He's going to play the Byron Nelson. He's going to play Houston. And we got a fellow Longhorn here, y'all. Never gonna have to pull my leg to take another Longhorn.
Yeah,
honestly, and I've even gone full Longhorn. And I've taken Doug Gim in the last round of one of these.
I was gonna say Doug Gim, Bo Hostler. Scroll down, select some of these guys.
Darren saying Scotty's biggest fear is forgetting a pasta maker on vacation or Louisville PD. Yeah.
Oh
good
my
news
God, that's so true.
The PGA is not heading back to Valhalla this year, so
thankfully,
yeah. And then Retail Ripper Minwoo Lee is not going anywhere. Vegas loves living out of a suitcase. I don't mind either of those calls actually. Minwoo or Vegas. Those are 2 guys that tend to play these events that you just always want more guys for. So all right, let's see what we get here. I'm kind of hoping it's not in the middle of the round because that was chaotic last time. So
yeah, it can. Here we go. We're filled.
4th again. Oh boy. So last time we got Ben Griffin. If that happens again, I would be ecstatic. But I'm going to assume that that's not going to happen. Yeah. Is there anybody after Scotty and Griffin that you like particularly more than the others?
I'm obviously I've come around on Sam Burns. Mm-hmm. I wish I was drafting more of him earlier. With his original ADP was in like the 20s. And so is Russell Henley's, and I was going Henley and then over Burns, but obviously those have diverged a lot, and for good reason. Burns plays way more events.
The only thing I will say about Henley could be a segment 1 demon if he shows up to Sony and he shows up to Cognizant.
Yeah. I still like Henley a lot. He's my second most drafted player, but I've tried to back off because I don't want to be so exposed that it's a big risk. But yeah, in short, I like Cameron Young a lot. I love Sepp Straka. JJ Spawn, I think, is totally viable in this format.
So let's just fire up the queue here. We'll see what the people in front of us go. If I have not done a draft yet where Scotty has not gone first, hence the ADP of literally 1.0. But if we get a miracle here. Nope.
Oh, I've gotten Scotty at the 102. It was about a month ago, but it happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Who'd they take first? Griffin?
I'd have to look, but I'm assuming it was Griffin. It might have been. Okay. It might have been Sung J M.
I wonder if it was somebody that's just like, man, I'm tired of getting this first pick. I got to take somebody different.
Some people are really in on Sung J M too, and I think Sung J M's a fine pick because he plays so many events. But he just, he was so cut more often, and he doesn't place in the top 10 hardly at all.
Yeah, like just last year, he was really, really bad. So tell you what, let's do this. I kind of want another Sam Burns share. So let's go Burns here, and let's hope we can get Cam Young on the wraparound. That would be ideal.
A sneaky round 2 player that I'm taking all the time. Harry Hall.
Who's that?
Harry Hall.
I don't mind that.
He plays
one of my Scotty teams. I was able to get Harry Hall.
He plays events that are birdie fests. His status has changed. He's now a signature event golfer, so it could be different this year. It's a little bit hard to predict, but he makes a ton of cuts. He's always competing for a top 10. It feels like. I think he's a guy, and I've got him slated in. It's hard to know which events he'll skip that he played last year, but I think he could play Canadian, and I think he plays the CJ potentially too. It's just hard to know because there's a stretch there in the middle between the Masters and the PGA Championship where it's 5 straight events that he's qualified for, and there are 4 signatures and 3 signatures in the 2 majors, and so maybe he skips the CJ coming out of that, or maybe he skips the Valero before. It's kind of hard to figure out where he's going to fall.
It would seem like they would want to play the week before a major. So it would seem like he would keep the Valero. If we get Hall here at that 16th pick, let's go. let's fire that up. That's a really good value there. And we've got
this is a great start. I love this kind of start.
Now the question is, can Spieth fall back to us at 20? Nope, never mind.
No, he never falls anymore.
I kind of like the idea of Poston here.
Poston's not a guy I've clicked a ton. I'm open to it though.
So he plays the John Deere. He plays the Sony. So he's going to get us a few of those events. You good with it, or you want to go somewhere else?
No, I'm good with it. Let me find Poston on my list. I think I think it's good. He does. You're right. He plays a lot of rounds. He makes cuts. Let's just get a better year out of him.
So now, we got options here. I feel like I kind of like the idea of Cantlay, but I'm open to your thoughts as well.
So I take a little Cantlay, but I push him as far as I can because what's the difference between Patrick Cantlay and Russell Henley? Which one's better? And they have the exact same, essentially the exact same chances of winning events. They play a similar number of events.
I think that taking Cantlay would be buying back on the idea that he's going to get better. Like last year was a super down year for him.
True. And he still had a statistically a good year, but not not in the winner circle.
Yeah. And so to me, that would be the reason to take Cantlay. I really like Brian Harmon right there.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Harmon. This is tricky.
So you're out on McNeely?
I'll take him. Yeah. The Mayo ranks don't like him, but I look back at some of the events that he played last year, and he fits some of what we need.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely going to play Phoenix, which I don't think we have a lot of yet.
Right. Well, I think we got Phoenix covered. It's the Farmers. He should play there. We're still pretty weak on the John Deere. We only got one in the John Deere right now, and it's Poston. But I think he does
Nico
play
John Deere.
Who's that?
Nico Echeverria.
Yeah, I love him. Please, yes.
Let's do it. That was very good timing. Then I like.
Yeah, no, Nico is a great player and really good for this format because he's in the first two signature events, but that's it because if he's in the next 10. I like Nico. I want to get more Nico. I want to start. I've been drafting too much Grazerman. I need to switch in some Echeverria because they have a very kind of similar profile, I think, and he goes later.
So looking at what we've got coming down the pipe here. Well, never mind. I was going to say Akshay, but
I like them both.
I would be cool with Kirk if he fell.
Kirk is fine. Clark is a guy I click a lot of. Knapp is fine. I click a good amount of Goddard too.
Let's see what falls because I kind of feel like. Let me see what. Okay. I'm kind of looking at the guys we got to get wrap around.
Kirk could be nice if he's there because he plays the Deer and maybe plays the Canadian this year. I think wasn't Kirk in the signature events previously, and now he's not. So
correct,
but he's in the first two because of the next 10.
He had a really good fall. Yeah, had a really good fall. So yeah, let's do Kirk here.
Either Kirk or Knapp. Yeah, I'm cool either way. Knapp is kind of I think Kirk and Knapp are pretty similar golfers. And in this, I'm talking about this format. Anytime I compare guys, not real golf, because
in terms of actual play style,
they're not at all. But just because of the schedule they fill out.
So tell you what, I'm hoping and praying we can get Knapp, which also brings up a point.
Clark is a fun one.
What'd you say?
I think Wyndham Clark's a fun one. I think the Mayo ranks are pretty out on McGreevy because he's not good, but he plays a lot of events. Luckily, we can get Knapp, so this is perfect.
That worked out. That worked out well.
That is huge for this team. We've got 4 guys right now at the CJ Cup, 4 at the John Deere, and we're kind of very balanced with our signature events and our majors and our other events right now. We're killing this draft. This is great.
Yes. Let's see. Looking what's coming down. I'm going to just put McCarty, Thompson, and Horschel in the queue, and we'll just see what happens. I kind of like the idea of getting Wyndham if he falls to us, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
With Noren, and I think I've been drafting him. I try to push him as well because I treat him as a signature event golfer where I assume he's not going to play a ton of events, and when he does, they're going to be the signatures and the majors based on his world golf ranking.
Yes. He's is he one of those that he's qualified for the first 2?
He is qualified for the first 2. He also should be qualified for all of the majors. And if he can maintain his top 30 in the world, he'll get into all of the signature events.
Okay.
So I kind of play him as he's a signature event guy.
So do you think we should go Noren, or do you think we should get one of the grinders?
We can afford to take a Noren. We just have to kind of, balance it out that we more grinders and treat him as like a signature event that he fills that. And if he doesn't end up making Miami or the Truist or the Heritage, we kind of are. It's not a bad spot to be down a golfer anyways. Those events are not very. The Heritage is fine, but Miami and the Truist are going to be hard events.
Well, in our whole concept here is that between Nico, Kirk, Knapp, one of them's going to play their way in, right?
Yeah, perfect idea.
Which would kind of be the same concept between taking one of these guys here.
Do you ever take Eric Cole in this format just because he plays so many events, or are you really just kind of out on him from a talent kind of perspective?
I did the last 2 years just because he just checks all the boxes, man. Like, he just plays so much, but he was quite bad last year.
I know, right?
And I just don't know if he's going to bounce back.
I like Davis Thompson. I take him a fair amount too.
I like he's a guy that's going to play John Deere for sure. And that checks that box for us. He usually plays American Express, which is going to help that out. So I think that was a pretty good value there with DT.
And because he lost his signature event status, I think he will play more of these events. Who knows if he plays all three of Valspar, Houston, and Valero, but he could. I mean, why not? He's in the Players, but he's not in the Masters. Mm-hmm. He's not in the Heritage. He's not in the API. So he's going to be looking for something to do.
Do you know if we need more Canadian Open?
We should be good. I'm expecting Davis Thompson to potentially play the Canadian, but we could use one more for the Canadian. We could use probably two more for the Deere to feel really good. If we can get a guy that can fill some more of those boxes, potentially the Farmers we need one more for.
Does Mackenzie Hughes play one of the other ones we need?
Hughes plays the Canadian and not the Farmers or the Deere though, but we can still get him.
Well, that's what we're going to end up with here.
No, I like Hughes. Hughes is a good click.
I really thought he was going to play one of those other ones instead of just the Canadian. Now, is there anybody that checks off both those boxes off the top of your head?
For which ones? For Canadian
for
and
Farmers
Deere?
and
for Farmers.
No, Finau plays Torrey Pines.
Griot's one we could do.
Griot. Okay, let me see if I can find Griot.
If you haven't clicked him before, it's a name just to scroll down and throw in.
Yes.
Other name, you were saying Finau. I don't think I have a good schedule for Finau in mind that I need to update it because I just don't know what he's going to play.
So he lost his signature event status.
Yeah.
He usually plays Torrey Pines though. But the downside with Finau is
he did play it last year.
He usually, let's go Griot here. He usually plays those birdie fests over the summer, like Rocket Mortgage and 3M, but those aren't even in this format.
Yeah, Mexico's gone. He was one of the guys that would play Mexico. Like you said, the Rocket's gone now. So
that's a little disappointing there for Finau. But yeah, I feel pretty good about what we ended up with. That was just the start that we had, like those first 6 rounds. I don't know if we could have drawn it up on paper any better.
This is a team that is high risk, high reward, which is how you should play a large field tournament with 50,000 entrants and 261 people in the finals. We are going to be a little light at the majors and at the signature events that are later in the season. But the goal for this squad is to have one or two of Nico, Chris Kirk, Jake Knapp, Davis Thompson, or Griot or Hughes to play into the signature events in the majors based on future qualifications. So we need probably one or two more guys to get into the Open. If one more guy can get into the Masters, that would be nice. I don't know if I think there's still some avenues in. And then we're going to look, like I said, Miami and the Truist, but the Memorial and the Travelers, we would like someone like two guys, maybe one guy or two guys to play into that. Otherwise, we have 12 golfers at the PGA Championship. We have 9 at the Scottish, 8 at the Canadian. We have 12 at the Players, which is actually kind of pretty easy to do. We have 12 at Phoenix, based on what we're expecting if Noren plays Phoenix. 11 at the American Express, which would be great.
That's phenomenal. That event is going to be huge. The American Express and the Cognizant are going to be the events that swing segment 1.
And 9 at the Cognizant. I'm kind of assuming Noren plays these events. I think 50-50 chance he plays like the Cognizant or the American Express, but he could. I mean, why not? I think he, at his stage in his career, is looking to go to the PGA Tour, try to take home some cash, right? When I've been balancing out my thoughts on the DP World Tour golfers versus them playing more on the tour or more around the world, one thing I've started to factor in is like, what's the purse? If it's a signature event, I'm assuming they're going to go for that high purse. But if it's something that's a lower dollar purse, they might, not be so interested to go play like a John Deere, right?
Especially when it's like the John Deere, the placement of it, with it being the week before the Scottish, it's almost like you could head back across the pond, and just stay there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that one, the John Deere is just in such a weird spot. It really is.
It is. And then I always think of like what other events are going on. Is there like a Rolex series event? Is there a Race to Dubai series event, or something that's conflicting that has a very attractive purse and some kind of notoriety and maybe plays into another storyline that they're chasing or ranking, or so there's I think playing it safe in this format, just lean on Americans and then lean on the international players who are PGA veterans. Where you take a risk is the up and comers, the guys who are coming off the Korn Ferry or the DP World Tour who have not played full PGA seasons before. We don't know which events they're going to be in, how many they're going to be in. And I think I've learned this from last year. My most drafted player was Nick Dunlap. Okay.
He was going super high last year.
That kind of cratered.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, too, is he still played the schedule that he promised you. He just did not play well.
He got cut everywhere. And that's just more, that kind of speaks to these guys that are younger on the tour. It's really hard to win. And it's really hard to win when you don't have the same experience. You have guys who have been pros for 15 years and they're in their mid-30s and they're not getting drafted. You could easily get a Patrick Rogers or like all these other golfers who have been there, done it all. Very predictable schedules. If you take an up and coming guy, we did it with Michael Brennan before, but we think he's kind of different. It's just a big risk that they miss a lot of cuts.
Right. Like really, I kind of feel like this team we got, like they're not super young, but they're young enough that they could all take the next step. Like what if McNeely puts it together and becomes a top 25 player? Or what if Nico wins like a what's the word I'm looking for here? What if Nico wins a real PGA Tour event, right?
Yeah.
Or what if Jake Knapp or Davis Thompson takes that next step forward, right? Like we're getting guys with upside with this build. So we've got the schedule and we've got the upside. I like this draft a lot.
There was a quote, or I think I saw an article on the PGA website that it was like 2025 was the year of the middle-aged golfer, like the mid-careerist, because the guys who won the majors, Spawn having a career year and he's an older guy, and Scotty is not technically one of the young guns anymore,
right?
But he's still considered in the middle of his career technically, but he's still viewed as like the younger of the group. And so last year there was not a lot of young winners on the tour. There was a few, and we know who they are. Like Pot Geeter was one. I've drafted him a little bit. I don't know how much he's going to play in what events, but I think he's kind of fun for best ball because he can spike. He gets cut a bunch. Okay. And that hurts in this format, but because there's 12 roster spots now versus 10 last year, it actually gives you a little bit of a buffer to take riskier guys who might get cut a lot, but then pop off for a win, a year somewhere or a really good finish.
With how Pot Geeter plays, there's about 6 or 7 courses that he's going to show up and be instantly more valuable just because of how far he hits the ball. Like if he goes to Torrey Pines, if he goes to Houston, if he goes to, Detroit's not a part of the format, but like you get the picture, right? Like if he goes to these bomber courses, he's instantly going to be more valuable there than he would at Sony.
And that's another reason I'm kind of hopeful for a profile of a golfer like a Michael Brennan is because he can just get hot with his driver and go low. And I think the profile and so here's another risk. I've also done this in past years where I overdraft guys who are currently hot going into the season. It's a long season. Things change. Guys cool off. Guys get hot in the middle. And so Brennan is super hot right now. Is he going to be 34 ranked in the world the rest of the season? Probably not. He probably falls down a little bit. It can't expect him to stay up there. But if he does, I mean, that's kind of where he's priced right now. He's kind of priced at his ceiling. But right now he is, and he hasn't played a lot of PGA Tour events at all. But the way he's playing, the way his game is going, the number of birdies he's hitting per round, he's looking like someone who can come in there and immediately compete as like a top 30 golfer on the PGA Tour in a lot of these events where the field is going to be weaker. But again, young rookie on the tour kind of thing. He got his first win already at the Bank of Utah Championship, which is, not the hardest field, but not the worst field either. It's a field very reminiscent of what a lot of these normie events are going to look like.
Yeah, like that's not any worse of a field than you're going to see at the Byron Nelson.
Exactly.
No more shots towards the Byron Nelson, I promise.
Except maybe Scotty's there, so it's a little different.
That's true. Yeah. So put Scotty in the Bank of Utah, and that's what it would have looked like.
Yeah, and then it's just Brennan getting second. Is what you'd expect.
But hey, we'd be cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm cool at honestly, even when you play a golfer in DFS or one and done, and your guy gets second to Scotty, it's almost like, you know what? That's kind of what I expected. So
you got to bet the non-Scotty alternate lines,
right?
He just golfer, not Scotty.
It became to a point last year where it was almost depressing to bet outright winners in tournaments that he was in, because it's like, gosh, I'm just gonna get wiped off the face of the earth by Scotty here.
Really interesting. I saw Byron Lenku's data on the betting results from last year, $100 and across all these different players and bets. The one that I think is what I would go after is just betting top tens. If you like a golfer, don't bet him to win outright as much. This is what I'm learning from that. It's like it's so hard to get that right, and Scotty is going to win a bunch, and his price isn't even that attractive because it's already so priced in. But betting the top tens on guys that get hot could be huge.
I could not agree more with that. Like last year, Akshay Bhatia was my guy that I had him outright so many places where he was in contention on Sunday, or he was just lurking on the leaderboard and just never got home. And it's like, dang, if I had just bet the top 10, I would have been sitting pretty right now.
That's interesting. I think of another golfer that has been disappointing, Colin Morikawa. You bet him outright, nothing. If you bet him top 10, honestly, probably profitable. Profitable, the amount of top 10.
By the way, have you drafted him any in this format?
Accidentally once or twice. And what I mean by that is he was just kind of there, and I could afford to take another signature event guy. And I say, okay, I want to have more than none. I think I fell asleep early one night and auto drafted him one time in a slow. Now the clocks have gone to 4 hours. And then I did see him fall to pick 60, and I took him there when I still needed one more signature event guy because I just said, hey, I still feel bad about it because this is not an event for drafting good golfers necessarily. It's for drafting for the schedule and the grinders and the guys who are at the Birdie Fest. And he just doesn't play that many events.
He literally last year just played the signature events in the majors.
Yeah.
Literally. And so I've seen him go super early where people take him, and it's like, do you know what you're signing up for there, bud? This is just not the type of format to take him in. Now, I will say, this is also the type of format where I'm not operating in absolutes. Right. If you can get Morikawa in whatever round and he fits your build, then knock yourself out. I have a team where I got I'm not the biggest fan of Rory in this format, but I got him in the 4th round one time.
Yeah.
And it's you know what? Now I'm going to have a unique team. And if Rory has a really good season, then he's going to be very valuable for me at the events he shows up to.
And you hit the nail on the head. You know what you have to do with it. If you're going to take a Rory, you fit the rest of your team to cover the events that he's not in, because you already have that thought. I think where it gets tough with a guy like Colin Morikawa is he's in kind of the no man's land. His ADP's in the middle of the draft. He gets drafted 100% of the time. So he's going to be in every pod to start off with. But then this is how you know that the guys who are kind of in that no man's land, who are signature event golfers, who are going after some of the non-signature event golfers, that's a signal that this is a bad pick.
Right.
Sometimes you still, because like obviously you get to the later rounds, you still need another signature event guy or two. It makes sense, but could Lucas Glover completely outscore Colin Morikawa in this type of format, in this scoring? It's
Absolutely.
absolutely yes. Like he probably will actually. There's guys that go much, much later that don't have the same name brand value that probably score more. Ryan Fox, Thomas Dietrich, who doesn't always get drafted. Berger almost doesn't always get drafted. He does a little bit, but Lucas Glover, Lowry, these are all better picks than Colin Morikawa in this format because they all play more events. And, they're obviously not as good in real life golfers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can make arguments, but we know that Colin, has high aspirations and is a good golfer and should get back into form a little bit. This is just not this is not a game for him, this kind of best ball.
And you look at the board that we just had, like, no disrespect to Quadamom here, because I haven't seen his or her full roster to see what they got going on. But like you look at like objectively where Morikawa was taken, I would pretty much rather have everybody.
Henley. Yeah.
Like
everyone after that, yeah.
Like I think I might even rather have Hovland, even though Hovland is kind of like he's kind of like Norwegian Morikawa.
That is so true. So I have some projections for these golfers, and Hovland is one spot ahead of Morikawa, and that's not a good spot to be.
I was gonna say, like, I think they're pretty similar in terms of their schedule. I think Hovland's just a little more likely to win, would be how I would assess it.
Let me throw out another golfer.
Might be more likely to. Yeah, like he might be more likely to like top 10 Morikawa maybe.
Yeah.
But like Hovland, I think has a little more upside.
Well, yeah, they're both interesting, and they're both great golfers. But it's sad that this is not their format. The Albatross, the majors only, is definitely those guys shine in. Another golfer that I think this is not the format for necessarily is Oberg. I think it's tough, because he's priced so high. It's kind of a Rory situation. If you take Oberg, treat it like you're taking Rory, you're going to have to really intentionally build out your team around him. And even if Oberg has his career best year, he might not be the guy you need in this format. It just might not be on the winning roster, and he's not going to play enough events to matter. And the events that are birdie fest, he's going to play the toughest courses out there. He's going to be playing in Miami in the Truist, but he's not necessarily going to be in these other events like the Deer, where you can score 20 under par easily.
And even with him too, when you look at the events that he plays that aren't the signature events, like he's going to play at Torrey Pines. He's probably going to play at he's probably going to play at the Canadian Open, which is not a super birdie fest. So like the non-signature events he's playing in aren't going to be the ones where he's going to score a whole lot.
True.
It's just all right, let's get
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say let's get caught up on the chat here.
Yes. Last thing I'll say is I mentioned a golfer at the very beginning of the show. We haven't drafted him. We haven't talked about him. It's Michael Thorbjornsen.
I don't mind that idea at all. I think he's a sneaky one where you look at the events he played last year, you look at how he did in them. I think if you get a full season of him, I think he might be really, really good.
I'm excited. He played on the TGL on Friday. He didn't miss a single putt, which he was just kind of electric on the putting greens. He's a great off the tee. I think he can improve his game, pull it all together. He can be a guy that's, competing week in, week out. He's top 70 in the FedEx Cup points right now. Mm-hmm. So he's not in the next 10, but he's really close. And I think he's a guy that can play into the signature events as the season goes on, play into some of the majors. We look at his one stat that kind of stood out to me was he was 85th percentile for finishing top 10 in the events that across the PGA Tour season last year. So he's a young guy. He's a kind of a bomber off the tee and can putt well. And so it's a good combination.
Yeah, like he's one of those guys, kind of like we talked about with, this is not like a true apples to apples comparison, but not in a totally dissimilar fashion where we talked about Potgieter, how Potgieter's just going to show up and have these courses where he's going to instantly be valuable at. Thorbjornsen is kind of like a slightly lighter version of that, and I don't mean it literally.
He is tall too.
Yeah. It's just like he's going to show up in a lot of these standard easy PGA Tour courses he's going to be really good at. And I feel like he's that type of guy where he shows up to a course that's going to be a birdie fest, he's going to do well. That's just kind of what I've noticed about him early in his career.
That's a great comparison because he actually did also get a T4 at the Rocket Classic, where Potgieter wins. And then he doesn't get cut as often as Potgieter, but that's been kind of something that he worked out. Thorbjornsen he missed a lot of cuts early in the season last year. He started to kind of figure it out kind of in the middle of the summer. And I think he's a guy right now that is getting hot and played well in the fall. Can he carry that forward and have a good season? I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I like that shout. I think he's a pretty good sleeper. And I think, honestly, maybe we could have taken him over Maverick, but I do like Maverick.
The problem is he's already priced in as a sure thing. And so, like, I'm not going to be super overexposed to him, but I like to click him and I'd like to watch him. I'm excited to see where his career goes. But I mean, these rooms are sharp. I'm not joking. Like, Brennan's been priced in. Thorbjornsen's been priced in. They've risen since the tournament opened. Like, for instance, Thorbjornsen was going pick 50 and then pick 40 and then pick 30.
He
He's
just
in like the late 30s.
Keeps climbing.
Yeah. So he's climbed about 20, 30 spots since the open of the tournament, the end of November. And so as soon as Pat Mayo and Establish the Run released their rankings, which was the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, things have changed a lot. But which is also interesting. Like, Morikawa was the 6th overall player drafted when this thing opened. The very next week, he was still the 9th player until ETR and Pat Mayo released their rankings. He was going as high as 16.
And it's been a free fall since then.
Yeah, it's been a free fall. Now sometimes I've seen him go undrafted.
You kind of hit on this, but like, these lobbies are much sharper this year than like what you saw last year and 2 years ago. Like, last year, I would draft teams, and then, like, if I went back and looked at the board, I could look down and be like, oh, that team is drawing dead. Like, that team has no chance at beating me in segment 1 because they just don't have enough guys playing enough rounds. There's not a lot of that this year. No. I think that whether you have people that are getting their rankings from ETR, Pat Mayo, or if they're just smarter drafters and understanding the format better, I think that it's definitely sharper this year than it has been in years past.
Well, we're helping keeping it sharp because Mike's putting out great content here. He's helping the people, and there's gonna be a lot of people who watch this and get excited. And we have less than 2 weeks to draft before the Sony tees off. So, man, it's crunch time. One thing I'm excited for that Underdog has hinted at, and they are going to be releasing, it's official. There's going to be weekly best ball tournaments for all of these PGA events. And what that means is where last year you would have to draft dailies. So you draft a Thursday for the Sony and then it pays out. And you draft for Friday and it pays out. And then it's not very attractive. People didn't like it as much. Some people will still do it. And I'm not throwing any shade on people who like those dailies for PGA. But what I honestly am looking forward to and always have wanted, and they're going to do it, is you draft before Thursday, and then your roster, your best ball roster you drafted, your 6 players play the whole tournament. And then it pays out after Sunday. That's going to be another fun way to play this in season. I'm definitely going to be doing some of those too.
I love that because I definitely played those dailies. It's not my favorite because there's so many times where, like, you look back and you're like, oh, Scotty shot a 60 today. Like, if I didn't have the first overall pick, I was dead. Like, you have to, those dailies are so dependent on like having the one guy you had to have. So I love the idea of getting that in terms of a full tournament. Love it, love it, love it. Which, by the way, if you have not played on Underdog before, check out the link in the description. It'll get your deposit matched. You can use my referral code. So if you're sitting there thinking, I want to go ahead and draft $50 worth of teams, go ahead and use that code, and then you can draft $100 worth of teams. So,
you go.
so use that. So let's see what we got in the chat. I see we got Darren and Retail Ripper talking. Darren saying Eckroat plays everything. Give me Eckroat over Cole. I've definitely taken Eckroat in the last round. He had a little bit of a down year last year, but he does play everything. He's another one of these young guys that could definitely take the next step. I don't mind Novak either. I think he goes a little pricey right now. I'd like him to slip another round or two, but I don't mind Novak. And then Retail Ripper, stay away from Cole. Yeah, I haven't taken him this year. Are we Kitayama believers? What do you think?
I am drafting some Kitayama. He's a status change guy, so he wasn't in the signature events last year. He is now. I don't know which events he isn't going to play, but if you combine the events he's qualified for with his new status with the events he played last year, he is in every single event except for the Scottish. Obviously, he's not going to play every single event. He technically didn't play the most rounds last year. He was kind of in the lower half of rounds played, but that's a little bit skewed because of the fall, and maybe he wasn't doing some of that. He likes to play at these birdie fest kind of places, so he's a guy that can hit a lot of birdies per round. He's kind of a little bit better than middle of the pack for cuts, and he's actually pretty decent for top 10s made. So I think his current price, ADP 50, he's a perfect late target if you need one more signature event guy who might actually play some of the normie events too.
I've that little range he's in, I've taken a lot of Kitayama, I've taken a lot of Fox.
Yeah.
Like just that like 7th, 8th round where you're going to get a few unique events out of them. And I just generally believe in their talent. Like, yeah.
Kitayama wins on the tour almost every year, it feels like, or he's at least close. You know, he's one of those guys. Brian Harmon's another one where he's always going to win something.
Yes. And I'm never on him when he does. I never get Brian Harmon right. I never do. William Mao is an interesting name. Yeah, he's kind of one of those young guys I don't mind taking as like a last round flyer. Let's see. Pot Geeter seems like an obvious live target. Yeah, he could play on what's the South African team's name? Is that the Cliques?
I think so, yeah.
Or no, the Cliques are like the Brits. I don't know. The team names with live throw me for a loop every time.
Were those the Range Goats? No,
the Range Goats was Bubba's team.
Yeah, that was the worst.
I'm telling you, there's a team of South Africans. I don't know what their name is.
Yeah.
One of y'all knows the live teams. I know Torquay is the Latin American team. I don't know what the South African team is. I like Pendrith to take a step this season, drafting a lot of Pendrith. He generally plays the Canadian and the Byron Nelson and Farmers, and those are 3 events that you generally need. So I've been taking a good amount of Pendrith.
I think he's a good pick for this format. My only reservation for him is that he does tend to play some of these harder courses, like you said, the Farmers, the Canadian, and so that just puts him in a position where he's scoring fewer birdies per round than some of the guys. But he's a signature event golfer, and he's in the majors, so that's I think very fair. And he's not too expensive. He sometimes can go in like the 3rd round, sometimes in the 4th. So I always have a tough time between picking with Nick Taylor or Taylor Pendrith or Corey Connors, who Pendrith typically been going first out of that group, and then throw in Maverick McNeely, who I kind of like. So Sam Stevens is right there. So then I'm grabbing one of those 4 guys in almost every draft.
Yeah, I like Pendrith. I think how this particular draft played out, though, I think I'd rather have Harry Hall than Taylor Pendrith.
Oh, yes. No.
So not complaining at all.
In on Harry Hall more. It's his status has changed, but he's in like the 94th percentile for cuts. He's in the 86th percentile for top 10s. Plays a ton of rounds, and he plays the events where there's birdies everywhere. Maybe that changes this year, and he cuts back on those birdie fests and plays more of the signature events, which would justify maybe where he's going. But last year, the dude was the most valuable player in the 4th round of the scramble. He was on all 3 of the top teams. It was Scotty Scheffler and Harry Hall were the only 2 players you had to have. Everything else was kind of up for grabs, and there were some different players on different teams, but consistently it was Harry Hall and Scotty Scheffler on all the top teams last year.
So my big macro take on Harry Hall is like he's basically British funny hat Ben Griffin.
That's so
Like,
true.
like when you look at what they did last year, there's people that are out there saying like, oh, there's no way he's gonna be as good as what he did last year. There's no way like he can repeat that.
He was great.
Yeah, like you look at what the two of them did. The two of them were always good putters, always good short game players, and they just last year became good drivers of the golf ball. And that's not something that's just going to magically disappear. You know, Ben Griffin, he's still on the creatine diet or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what Harry Hall did, but I don't think that's going anywhere. I don't like it's not going anywhere. Like they're going to be good again. They're going to play all the events again. They just like playing golf. So absolutely, I'm in on Harry Hall.
And how can it get better for Harry Hall? He can actually win an event. I mean, last year he was killing it in the top 10s and the top 25s, but he didn't actually win. And he's so close. He is a guy, you know, that is so close. Although, you know, when it comes to the strength of the field, maybe that's a factor. If he levels up into the signature events, maybe he doesn't play as well because of the strength of the field. But you know, who's to say? I think he's a guy that is a borderline, you know, very, very competitive golfer. And a lot of the fields he's going to play in, my assumption is based on his schedule. And like I said, he might cut back some of these normie events, but I think he's kind of like going to be one of the guys who's a top 20, top 25 odds to win some of these tournaments. And maybe if he's not, it's because the public's just not there on him yet. Because for the stretch of last year, he was performing like a top 10 golfer in every tournament he stepped into.
And we tend to have one random signature event winner every year. Like there tends to be one that kind of comes from off the board. Like last year it was Henley at API, where all of a sudden Russell Henley's a top 15 golfer in the world. I don't think anyone saw that coming. And then Kitayama 2 years ago won also at API. Wow, maybe it's just the API then. But you know, you're going to get somebody like a Harry Hall that's going to win at a signature event where you don't see it coming. So absolutely. Let's see. Trying to get caught up here. Darren, still haven't heard the name Michael Kim on this show, grinder and major exposure. Yeah, it's not that I dislike Michael Kim, but it's hard for me to justify taking him where he's being taken. The only thing is that I don't know how plugged in anybody watching this is to the other like PGA content out there. I know you are, but basically Byron Lindeque, aka the Model Maniac, he literally reached out to Michael Kim and asked him what his schedule was going to be, and Michael
got a response.
Michael Kim responded and said, yeah, I'm playing everything up until Cognizant. So if you need, or if you just want to start your lineup with a bunch of segment 1 starts, boom, Michael Kim right there. I just have a hard time taking him over a Cam Young or over a Sam Burns. I might take him over JJ Spawn, but that wasn't a problem that we had here in this draft.
That's where I'm at. And part of me is concerned that I am having real golf bias where I'm like, oh, obviously you don't take him over JJ Spawn. Obviously you don't take him over Cam Young. But there's a good point. Like Michael Kim for this format of best ball is very reminiscent stylistically of a guy like a grinder like a Sam Stevens who played tons of events last year. And actually Sam Stevens scored the most points in this format of any golfer across the entire tournament. He had the highest total score because he was playing the most, not because he actually won anything or was actually even playing that well. He was playing well enough. He was making enough cuts. He was making enough top 10s, just because that kind of factors in how many birdies you're hitting, you know, those kind of things. But really it was because he was playing the most rounds when it counted in the tournaments that counted for the most. And if Michael Kim looks to be a version of that in a similar way, where Sung JM is kind of also another, and Siwoo Kim is a kind of an interesting name too. Siwoo Kim is kind of another version of that. Sung JM is kind of another version of that, where Michael Kim actually had some better output, some better performances than those two, who are often typically thrown into the bucket of the grinders, the guys who play everything. So Michael Kim is a guy that it's hard for me to click over some of these names, but I'm forcing myself to take him so that I have exposure to him. So I'm just not out if he's the guy you have to have.
Yes, that's another thing is if you're doing a lot of these drafts, there's not a whole lot of guys I want to leave myself nothing of, right? And he's one of them. Like he could absolutely be the guy that you had to have. And so I'm not going to totally blank him, but like in a vacuum, it's hard for me to argue Mike Kim over Cameron Young.
Oh, and I will say we did talk about Michael Kim earlier because I brought up the fact that he was going undrafted on day one of this tournament. In week number 2, he was ADP 45. Up until the rankings came out, he was still pick 30, pick 20. And then since the rankings have been out, he's a first or second round pick.
Yeah.
So there are going to be some super teams out there that you're going to have to face in the second round of in your new pods. When you advance from the first segment to the second segment, you're going to be up against randomly time of the year drafted teams. You're going to have teams that took Michael Kim with their last pick.
Yeah. And so kind of to add on to that point, the timing of your drafts does matter a little bit because like Retail's saying here, the normies will arrive towards lock. That's when you draft the FOMO casual players. Yeah, I think that as time keeps ticking by, I think that what you're going to end up with is on some of these guys, the pendulum's going to swing too far, right? And so you're going to end up with some guys that are overvalued and some guys that are undervalued. So yeah, I think that if you don't have a lot of those very early teams, like we were just talking about, I think drafting closer to lock, drafting the week of the Sony Open might be a good move.
Oh, I like that too. The part that it's tough for me is the week before they cut I do a lot of slow drafts because it makes a lot of sense. You can think out your picks in this format and it helps get them in. They cut the pick clock down to 1 hour, and then it's just it's called slow draft. It's like slow draft hell. You might have heard me say when you have dozens of slow drafts, they're all going off every other hour. It's unbearable. So I got to get my slow drafts done with, and then in that time, I'll just be doing the fast drafts. And I don't want to be. I'm planning to max the scramble. I've done that for the last 2 years, and so I don't want to be left out and miss it by 10 or 20 drafts. Actually, last year I missed it by 20 drafts because it closed on Christmas. It closed it
super early.
It closed super early because the Century was still there and what was going on. And so it actually closed, I think, 2 or 3 days after Christmas. And I was doing family stuff. I was actually golfing, enjoying the fresh air. And I couldn't just grind out the last 20 drafts and sit out for a day. So I did almost max it last year, but.
Oh, hey, you're better than I am. There's no way I can get that kind of volume down on these. Just no way. All right. So I do believe we have some breaking news on the NFL front. The Steelers have won the AFC North. So it will be it will be your Texans playing at Pittsburgh on Monday night, which will be nice.
I'm pumped for that. The Texans did beat the Steelers. I think it was week 4. Or week 5 or something. It was earlier in the season. They match up well against them. The pass rush, the Texans D has the way that both teams kind of play. The Steelers are trying to run the ball a ton. They don't really have as much big play potential. They might with DK Metcalf coming back, and I've seen them break off some big runs with Gainwell this season. But the Texans are a stout defense. They are good against the run, and they've been dominant. They've been on a huge win streak. I think they've won 9 or 10 straight games. And so going up against the Steelers, I feel pretty good about. I would hate to face Lamar Jackson at home in the playoffs. So I was not looking forward to that if that was a situation, because that's daunting. Yeah.
There's just not a whole lot to fear on Pittsburgh. Right? Like, are you really afraid of 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers? Like
and even TJ Watt's beat up. He had a lung, injury. It was a freak accident. So he's kind of not 100%.
Yeah, the defense doesn't exactly strike fear in you right now either.
Ramsey's terrible.
Yeah, so definitely a good draw for you.
Yeah, I'm psyched for that.
Are you a big NFL playoff best ball guy?
Not so much. I have done it before. I don't do it in high volume. I do it kind of as a one-off and for fun, and I do some of these alternate ones, not necessarily on Underdog, where it's like you only get to pick one player from a team. In kind of format. FFGC does that. Also, some people just kind of host their own. I did one with Nez and the Badge Bros last year, where you just on a spreadsheet, you just like, I took Lamar Jackson as my quarterback. You can't take another Raven. So that's the kind of fun best ball playoff kind of tournament I've done, and some small stuff. But this is golf season time of year for me, so I go pretty hard on my golf research, putting together my spreadsheets and my data and projection schedules and modeling and things like that, and then draft a bunch of this for the scramble. And as soon as the scramble's over, It's time for the Albatross, the majors only, which I love. It's my favorite format because it's really just trying to pick the best golfers. And I love this format too. I love the scramble. It's grown on me a bunch over the years. And then pretty soon the big board is going to open with all of the rookies for the NFL. So this is coming up soon. So this is kind of my small break between football.
Yeah, like playoff best ball is like, as a math person, it causes so much mental gymnastics in my mind because like the optimal way to advance is like the worst optimal way to win all the money. Like it's so conflicting because like if you watch anybody like talk about playoff best ball, they're like, oh, like you just draft 2 teams and hope they make the Super Bowl. But it's like, no, like, because if those teams don't put up 35 points in every round, like you're not going to score enough fancy points to get there. Like last year, Ladd McConkey had the biggest wild card performance out of anybody, and he gave you 0 in round 2, 3, and 4. So it's so conflicting to me as a math person. It just is. So I will play a few, like, just because, you know, I can't help myself, but it's not my favorite.
I know a lot of my buddies out there across the best ball community in the space. They love it. They're really into it. And they're putting out great content for it as we speak. But, you know, it's not my cup of tea. It's not something I'm going to do at high volume. I'm going to enjoy the NFL playoffs for what they are, kind of the raw playoff, you know, aspect of it. So if I can detach a little bit from the crazy fantasy season that we just came out of before I start back up in late January or early February with the big board in the pre-NFL draft best ball, then I give myself a little break and I can root for the Texans. They're actually in the playoffs again, the 3rd time in a row. Stroud's 3rd season, 3rd time in the playoffs. Can they push it this year? In the first time they're in the playoffs, there's without Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson. Now they just have to worry about, you know, big Josh Allen and the Bills and the new kid in town, Drake May or Bo Nix. I
think we're going to see a crazy NFL playoffs. I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So last comment here, Darren. Notre Dame and Texas should be in the playoffs over the Seahawks. Hey, no more college football playoff discussion. I've made it abundantly clear my thoughts on the college football playoff this year. So yeah.
They've incentivized bad behavior going forward. It's not the best teams that get in. It's the teams that play the easiest schedules to have the best records. So they've incentivized the wrong thing going forward.
Yep.
And you hate to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope that format gets changed in that sport. NFL, good playoff format. Anyway, yeah, I think that's going to close us out here. But definitely, thank you for coming on. Had an absolute blast talking best ball with you. You want to tell the people where they can find more of your content?
For sure. Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on. As always, great cutting up with you, Mike. It's so fun to talk golf and so fun just to pick your brain on what you're thinking and kind of the game theory of the best ball and things. So I love when we get a chance to do this together, and I'm looking forward to doing some more as we get you know, in season and everything else going on. And of course, we'll definitely get back into football in the summer and stuff. So there's definitely more to come, and it's always a fun time. Appreciate you having me on. You can find me at the Fantasy Football Garage on YouTube. So at Fantasy Football Garage on YouTube, and on Twitter at FFBgarage. I stream best ball content, fantasy content, and I mostly just do football and golf. And yeah, I've just been kind of having fun with it, enjoying it. It's kind of a passion project. And I just love getting to hang out with great people in the community like Mike. So that's what it's all about, having fun.
Yes. If you enjoyed the draft here tonight, make sure you go check out, because I believe you got another PGA draft coming up soon, right?
I think I'm going to go live tomorrow night on my channel and draft some fast drafts, some more scrambles, and just, you know, I don't know. I don't have a perfectly set schedule over this time of year right now, but I'm just going live when I can, probably like 3 times a week kind of thing.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed us here tonight, go check out on Chris's channel tomorrow. But yeah, thank you guys that have tuned in the whole time. We got in 2 good drafts, good strategy talk, good talk about, you know, guys we like, guys we don't like, a lot of information, a lot of content covered in 90 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If we helped you out in any way, please hit that like button on YouTube. It goes a long way. I promise you guys don't know how much it helps. And I really do appreciate that. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you can be back if we do this again, because, you know, we still got 2 weeks before lock. So if I've got some time available, I definitely want to do some more live drafts. So thank you guys for tuning in. But that is going to close us out here. Best of luck to you guys with your drafts. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.